Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar, MaaS Mobile, easy to try, easy to use, and easy to configure. My name is Betsy Ambrosius, and I'm a part of the business development team at Progitech. Progitech is the most experienced SaaS provider of Maximo and has been offering Maximo as a cloud solution for over 20 years. Today's webinar will be presented by Alex Walter, Chief Innovation Officer at A3J Group. A3J and Progitech have been partners for several years, providing Maximo solutions to the Maximo community. Before I turn it over to Alex, just some reminders. This webinar will be recorded and all phone lines have been muted. We will be sending out a recording of the webinar in a few days. If you have a question, you may submit your question in the question field, and we will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. Alex, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Betsy. It's exciting to be here today. Looking forward to showing you guys a little bit more about our solutions here. So I'm Alex Walter, Chief Innovation Officer at IBM Champion at A3J Group. Just a little bit about A3J Group here. We're a full service consulting firm focused on really enhancing user experience within Maximo. We work quite a bit and extensively with Progitech as an authorized reseller, and our mobile offerings are available in Progitech's catalog. So I wanted to highlight a couple of companies here just to sort of talk about pushing the envelope with respect to technology in Maximo. Highlighting the first one, Hertz. Whenever I go and rent a car for a trip, I'll come back, return the rental car, and it's always, scan the barcode on the car. Hi, Mr. Walter, would you like a receipt? Yes, printed right off the belt, handed to me, or just emailed. When we look at inventory in Maximo, there's nothing like that out of the box. There's all the capability from a back-end perspective that you could ask for out of inventory, but the ease of use, the user experience for the inventory person, there's no bundled barcode scanning, bundled, fast, easy, scan this, here's your part, have a nice day. And then the second company that's there is Uber Eats, and I constantly think to myself, if I can have dinner at my door in an hour by going to the App Store, downloading an app to my phone, and just putting in an order, why can't Maximo be as easy as that? Why can't we put in work orders or execute work or gather meter readings or perform things like physical counts? Why can't we do that in a similar user experience? So a lot of the what led us here was the traditional mobile solutions, and really just the long time to value is the big thing. A lot of them require extra server requirements, purchase orders, training, consulting time. All of this adds up to where if we could just simply fill that market with a fast, easy, downloadable solution, very similar to what consumers are used to with smartphones these days, we could have something. And really, the idea is we want to keep pursuing the idea that mobile should be easy, and as easy as you see in some of the consumer industry apps. So what we wanted to go through today was highlight just how easy our apps are to try, to use, and to configure. So from an easy to try perspective, our apps are available on the major marketplaces. All of them are available on the iOS App Store and on the Android Google Play Store. You simply go to those marketplace applications on your smart device, either phone or tablet. Download those apps directly from the store for free, log in, and then that activates a trial, and it's free to try our apps with your data connected to your Maximo for 30 days. So we're really excited about the fact that there's really no configuration, no training, no nothing available. And so what I want to do really quickly is jump out of here and actually show just how easy this is. So what I have here is this is my phone mirroring to my computer here. So you can see my home screen. If I fire up the App Store on iOS, I can search for A3J and see all of the apps that A3J Group has. You'll notice they all start with the MX meter work. They all use those MX object structures as the base in Maximo for the APIs. So very easy to come to the store, download, and that's all you really need to do. If we go ahead and click open, it'll launch the app. The first thing you'll need to do is be prompted for your Maximo URL, username, and password. So from a Maximo URL perspective, it's really simple. You plug in your URL. If you're a Project Tech customer, that'll be something in the emaximo.com domain. But this solution will also work for on-premise installations, with the caveat being you need to either be connected to your corporate Wi-Fi or VPN'd into your corporate network in order to see that Maximo URL. But once you log in, you're taken right to the list screen and you're off and running with our apps. So all of these apps are work the same way as far as the login process and the ability to just download the app right from the store, log in, and start. Literally within a minute and a half, you're up and running and connected to Maximo. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was just how easy these apps are to use. So I have 3 apps here that I wanted to demonstrate. Our MX Work app, which is our work order management app, our MX Meter app, which allows us to do things like collect meter readings from sensors and devices in the field. That can be used for things like routes and rounds. And then the last app being our physical count app for warehouse inventory auditing. So you saw me open the MX Work app and log into it. Those are the first 2 steps. Based on that, I've actually got a list of work orders here that are available. I can use the search bar here to search for specific work orders. So if I type the word pump, I get a list of all of the work orders that have the word pump in it, or I could search for specific work order numbers. I can also search for things like asset numbers or other keyword terms. So there are other ways to search. We can use the barcode scanning icon in the upper right. We also have the ability to execute save queries. So I can look where if I only want to see work that is assigned to me, I could say where the owner is me and come back with a list of work orders that way, and then clear the filter later. Once I dive into the list, you can see I'm looking at 1 of 10. I can use my finger to swipe left and right to navigate through the list. All of the fields that you're seeing here are configurable, and we'll get into how easy it is to configure these apps in a minute. I'm looking at just the basic work order header data, work order number, site, location, asset status, etc. At the top, I've got some buttons. That allows me to show tasks, work logs, and attachments with this work order. So if I click on that little hamburger style menu at the top left, what that does is it opens up a list of options. And what we have here are the ability to complete the work order, edit the data on the work order, capture an electronic fingertip signature, capture labor time, work logs, and attach pictures to this work order. So I'll start by editing the work order. You can see here we've got the ability to edit the description. I can even use some voice to text by clicking the little microphone button at the bottom of the keyboard. So you can see the voice to text has inserted that text into the description field. If I click on the work type field, what it does is it actually shows me a value list straight from Maximo. So this is, I'm able to change this if I want to, or just keep it the same. If I click update work order, you can see it's then edited that description, and that data is real-time transferred back to Maximo. If we go to the next one, for capturing a work order signature, we have that sign work order. This is for anybody that needs to, let's say you do third-party maintenance for an organization, and you need to be sure that the person that you did that maintenance for accepts what you've done and has completed the work. So we can come in and say, John Smith has signed for this work order, and then go ahead and click that sign work order button. And what you'll see is that signature comes in and is then attached right to that work order. So popping back into the app here, we've got the ability to record labor time. By default, we have the ability to capture, well, it defaults into the currently logged in user, their labor code, the start date of today, and we can enter in that I spent 3 hours on this work order. And then from a work log perspective, again, we can use the voice to text here or simply type out a note for this work order. And you can see that now recorded on the work order. Finally, from a attach picture perspective, we can go ahead and click that. We can either grab a picture from the library or take a new photo. If we choose take a photo, we've got the ability to capture our A3J hat here as an attachment to the work order, and that come right in here. And lastly, we do have the ability to complete the work. Once we complete the work, that work order goes to a comp status and it takes us directly to the next one on our list. The other thing I did want to show was we also have the ability to go offline. So all of our apps work to where when you first log in and build your list, it downloads all the data necessary for those transactions to your device. So we can go ahead and go offline and still be able to interact with this work order. So I can go ahead and complete the work. And then you'll see the little number 1 badge. It just shows how many offline transactions are queued up. If I click on pending transactions, you'll see you're currently offline. Please reconnect to sync your work orders. So we can go ahead and reconnect, and once we're reconnected, we can process those records. So that'll be our queue to move on to the next next work order. So pretty simple but powerful, really easy to try, really easy to use, simple buttons, simple actions. We're really excited about these offerings. So let's go ahead and move on to the next app in the list, and that is our MX Meter app. I'm going to go ahead and open that one up. Same thing here. You're prompted for URL, username, and password. So we can go ahead and log in. And it's going to build a list of assets for us that have meters associated with them. So same deal, I can type in a search term and have it filter the list for that search term. I can use the barcode scanner to go ahead and scan either 1D or 2D barcodes. I can use saved queries here to pull a list of assets from a predetermined list. I can also use routes. So I might have like a fire extinguisher route where I've got to go check and inspect all the fire extinguishers on a given floor, or I might have like you see an example here, quarterly pump service, which if I click on that, it filters my list down to just those assets that are on that route. And lastly, we do have the ability to use Google Maps to drop pins on the map and have it use service addresses and XY coordinates in the system to show us where certain assets are. And then we can click on those assets to record meter readings for them that way. So if I come to my pump asset here, 11450, and I click on that asset, I'm going to get a list of meters for that asset. And like MX Work, I can swipe using my finger to the left or to the right to navigate through that list. You'll see on each of these cards represents a different meter for the asset. We have PSI, outlet pressure that we're measuring in the first meter, and run hours in the second meter. If I click on the little speedometer looking icon, it'll take me to a screen that allows me to put in a new meter reading. So in this case, I can enter in 4850, hit the create meter reading button, and it goes ahead and creates a new meter reading for that, and actually takes me to the next meter in the list. I can also come back and look at the historical readings here. So you can see the 4850 that I just created at the top, and then we can scroll down here. Any readings that are in red are outside of that condition monitoring tolerance band. And then lastly, if we click on the trend tab, we can see how this meter is trending over time. So it'll give us just a nice fancy looking graph to look at. If we say in the last year, last month, last week, we can look at readings. Pretty snappy and really useful when you're standing in front of the equipment to just see trends and how this asset is performing. You can see when I go back to the meter list here, the green bar indicates that it's a reading that's recently been taken. That way, if I leave and come back, that's just gives me a visual indicator of where I left off in the list. We do have the ability to go offline, just like you saw in MX Work. If we go offline, we can still access all of the data, all of the ability to create new readings. 4750. And then when we come back, we will see that pending reading up at the top left. And same deal when we click on or reconnect and process those readings. We've now put in our offline reading. So again, really simple, easy, really doesn't require much training at all. If any, I've had a few customers simply download it from the store, start using it, and say, how do we partner together to use this in the future, really without any interaction at all from A3J Group. Okay, lastly, we're going to go ahead and show our MX Count app. This is for taking physical counts and performing audits of inventory in Maximo. So what we'll do is we'll log in using our URL, username, and password. That'll prompt us to choose a storeroom that we're going to be performing the count in. If you have a default storeroom associated with your Maximo profile, it'll assume that one to start with, but you can also come back and change that storeroom later. Just like our other two apps, we have the ability to perform searches. Gotta spell it right. So we can search for filters, elbows, any types of parts in the warehouse. We can also sort by the item number, the last count date, both in ascending and descending order. We can use our barcode scanner, and then also we have the ability to do our saved queries. We can do a bin range search. So if you plug in a to and a from, we can perform a filter that way. And our offline capability works the exact same way. So for each one of these items, if we click here, we've got the ability to plug in a new physical count. The app will alert you if you put in a balance that doesn't match what is currently in Maximo. By default, the app will issue blind counts. In other words, it won't show you what the current balance is in the system. But through configuration, we can enable those balances to be shown. However, if you do not match, it will prompt you and say, this does not match. Are you sure you want to continue? And you can say yes, and it will update the count, or you can say no and go back and edit it. Like, for example, if we put in a balance that doesn't match here, I can say no, come back, make the adjustment, and then since it matched, it now goes on to the next record. So similarly, if we go back to the list, we have recently counted items highlighted in green. Those can also be toggled off in the settings here with that show recently counted records turned off, and those will disappear from the list. So super simple, super easy, really to the point. We wanted to also make these apps very much a role-based type of experience. So not trying to build one big monolithic Maximo application on a mobile device, but more trying to target specific roles and specific functionalities within Maximo. In other words, there's a equipment operator that whose role may be to go out and capture these rounds on a regular basis, either throughout the day or throughout the week. So they have the MX Meter app as at their fingertips to allow them to do that, and we're not cluttering it with other features and functions that they may not need. Similarly, for the warehouse folks here, it's one of those things where we can quite easily, slim down what they need to just those functions that they do, such as counting, issuing, receiving, etc. Okay. What I wanted to do next was move on to the easy to configure portion of the demonstration here, or the presentation here. I wanted to show just how easy it is to configure these applications. So all of our applications utilize a cloud-based configuration where we can specify a simple file that allows us to dictate what is shown on the screen and certain behavioral aspects of the application within Maximo. So these are on a URL app combination basis. So your organization might have a different set of fields on the MX Work app than another organization, and that's fine. We support that. All right, so what we're going to do now is take you back into the application and show you just how easy it is to configure our MX Work application. So first things first, I want to show you the configuration file. This is one for MX Work. It's got a list of a number of different behavioral things, labels, and also you can see here we've got things like rows and columns on the list tab. So if we pull up our app here, you can see how we have description at the header of our work order list, followed by the work order number, site ID, location, and asset number. So to change this, to actually configure it, what we do is we can edit this file, upload it to our cloud-based configuration application, and the application will read from this configuration and behave accordingly. It's kind of like application designer, but instead of XML, it's in this JSON format. So what we'll do here is maybe what we'll do, let's see, instead of asset, we'll show the priority. So we'll just substitute priority for asset, make sure that we are pulling the priority field in from our API, which we are. Go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to put it into my cloud-based environment here. Save it. And now, when I log out of the app and log back in, instead of asset here, we now have priority being shown. So there's quite a bit that can be configured both behaviorally and visually in the app. You can see all the different fields that are being shown. So we have quite a bit to configure. We also have different config files for the different apps. So you can see this is our MX Meter config file. So we have information for both assets and locations. Some of the things that are really cool, like what we can do is we have that one search bar, but what does that one search bar search on? By default, from MX Meters perspective, it's the asset number, the description, and the serial number. But we could easily change that over to, like, say, the item num if you're doing like tools or something like that. It's a very easy change to make, and we'd be able to then view item information, search on item information from MX Meter. Same thing for MX Count. Very simple, very easy, and well, that's the basics of how it works. And every day we make this app better, and that's part of our goal and commitment to our customers is we're going to make it more configurable, more behaviorally adjustable through easy means like this as we go. Okay, one more thing. I'd like to dive into Maximo real quick just to show some of the transactions that we posted in this session back in Maximo and how they look and how they're reflected. So this is Maximo 7611. If I come to that work order, here's work order number 1003. This was the work order we were looking at that we completed. You can see it's comped. Here we are in our demo, and with work logs, attachments, etc. So you can see the A3J hat here. Back over in our assets application, if we look up that 11450 and click on the meters tab here, you can see the outlet pressure at last reading of 4750. And we can even see if we look at our meter reading history, the outlet, the two readings that we took, the 4850 and 4750 on the outlet pressure. And then lastly, from an inventory perspective, I think we took these first two here. If we scroll down, we look at the 4 not reconciled. You can see the physical count adjustment here where it went from 2 to 4. And then I believe we also did the next record as well, where these two matched. So from an adjustments perspective, we have the match going on there. And that's it as far as the transactions we did in Maximo.
Thanks, Alex, for a great demo. At Project Tech, we agree with Alex and A3J's vision of having a mobile option for Maximo users that are overall simple to use and connect to your Maximo environment. It's one of the main reasons Project Tech offers MaaS Mobile as a mobile option for our Maximo as a service clients.
Okay, so just to highlight our full suite of apps here, I won't actually get in and demo the rest, but we do have MX Approve, which is a workflow inbox on your phone, allows you to accept or reject workflow assignments. This is actually, there's a service catalog item out there for doing workflow as email, but I found that just to be a little bit cumbersome for folks. Much easier if they just have an app on their phone to where they can click the reject button, put in a memo, and all of that. I mean, the email will work, but it just is subject to or just prone to human error on the approver's part. The next one is MX Reserve, which is a shopping cart for reserving warehouse parts. So if you need parts for a job and want to place a reservation for those parts for a work order, very easy to do. It's kind of like Amazon.com where you you shop for parts. It'll show you thumbnails and images of the parts. You can see what's out on order, add those to your shopping cart, and then check out, which will create a desktop requisition for those parts in Maximo. And then lastly, we have our MX Admin app, which is really a mobile app on top of the Maximo MMI interface. Allows you to see things like environment names, real-time status and usage of the application. Are the queues stuck? Is the cron tasks, are the cron tasks running? How much database memory usage is, or how many connections are in use? All of those things at the touch of a few buttons via mobile app. So we constantly get asked questions about what's next. We have a few apps in the works, MX Receive, which will allow you to do mobile receiving of purchase orders, goods receipt. We have MX Issue, which will allow you to issue and return parts from the warehouse to work orders. And we are constantly building out new features, functions, upgrades to our existing portfolio of apps. So you saw some of those configuration capabilities, very straightforward and easy, and we're continually adding more and more configuration capabilities to all of the apps, as well as just new features. So be on the lookout for more and more to come from A3J Group in this space. So with that, I just want to say thank you. I know there's probably some questions, so I'll turn it over to Betsy, who will field some questions for us.
All right, our first question is, who makes the saved queries available in the apps? Are they SQL queries? Our field staff is not technical.
So good question. Most field staff, I would say, is not technical. So, who makes the queries? Typically, those queries are made by just about anybody in the system, but are published to the Maximo REST APIs by administrators. So those administrators, through the object structures in Maximo, can take any saved queries that have been created in, say, like the work order tracking application, and make them available through specific work order object structures that our application uses. So we have a couple of short videos out on our YouTube channel that show how to do that. It's very simple, and those can be shared very easily.
Great answer. The next question is, we have a lot of assets and locations. How are these searchable in an easy way?
So another good question. So we talked a little bit about offline mode. Our apps are not trying to download every single location that's in the Maximo database and every single asset that's in the Maximo database to your device. We're taking a very pointed look. We're looking at things that you've completed recently. We're looking at the current list of work that's assigned to you, and we're trying to be smart about what we pull down to the device. So the locations and assets can be filtered using a search term to query, kind of like what you've seen in all of our apps, where you can punch in a search term or the number and it comes back with a list based on that. We can also support 1D or 2D barcode scanning. And not only that, but our searching and filtering can also happen while you're offline, so long as we have those locations and assets down to the device beforehand. And I would say lastly, maybe not leastly, but lastly, we also have Google Maps in our MX Meter application. So if you need to find assets based on geolocation, we utilize XY coordinates and service addresses in Maximo to help you find assets that way.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. How well does the voice to text work around operating equipment like pumps and machinery?
So that's a good one. You saw the voice to text work in the demo here. Obviously, this is a quiet environment where we're giving a demo out of an office location, but I have done some field testing with the voice to text capabilities in a plant setting, and I would say it does and holds up pretty well, and it's getting better and better as the operating systems on these devices mature. So I would say it's only going to get better. The other thing I would say to this is even if I can get 80% of what I need to get down via voice to text and have to punch in via keypad the remaining 20%, that's still better than having to punch in the whole thing, and I can still get more text from our technicians through the voice text capability than I can if they just have to type something in, which is loathsome and probably boring and annoying for them. But so long story short, I think it does work pretty well. It's certainly not bulletproof. It's got a ways to go, but it's constantly getting better, and it's better than the alternative of keying it in.
Well, thanks, Alex. If we didn't get to your question today, we will send you an answer via email. If you have a question later on, feel free to reach out to myself or Alex directly. Our contact information is on the screen. And thank you again, and hope to see you at a future Maximo event.
Thanks everybody. Again, appreciate the time. Thank you for joining today. Hopefully you were able to take something away from it, and look forward to the next time. Thanks again.